I'm glad.
Your phone. What's your phone?
Oh. Yes. And so there's so much going on. I don't even know where really to begin. It's just crazy. With the judge, ruling on the map. So now
the redistricting
map, and now people have to go back to the drawing board. So I understand that the mayor put out her map. We know that City Council at Large Ruzi put out a map, as did City Councilor Kendra Lara. She put out a map, and I believe, last I heard, Councilman Michael Flaherty put out a map.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so now there's 4 maps, and these maps have to be voted on. The city council has to vote on these maps. They only have a certain amount of time because
what districts, and I know District 3 is implicated in that because I live in District 3. But do you know what districts are
affected?
Yes.
All of them now.
Every single one.
Well, it was only supposed to be District 2, 3, and 4. Those were the only ones that was really impacted. We find out that 13,000 people moved into District 2. That's where the seaport is, South Boston, downtown. 13,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they had to be, some of those people, those 13,000 had to be moved out. So they had to go to District either 3 or 4. I mean, I really don't really fully understand the redistricting map as it goes, and however it just appears that there's maps all over the place now. So the map that I believe was the NAACP and some other community members agreed on, which the city councilors, 9 city councilors approved this map, and the mayor signed it. So, but then the other 4 city councilors fought it, and so I don't.
And they won.
Right.
That's the thing to me, right? They won.
They won. Not only did they win, but city councilors perjured themselves, literally. But it's like it don't matter. I went to some of the hearings, down at the courthouse, but it just seems like it was just based on, that the white city councilors felt like they their districts weren't treated fairly, or they
were losing their base. Basically.
Right. Some of them, yeah.
Some of them. Yeah. So, but the race thing, because that's my understanding, and I'm curious to hear more. My understanding, Nick, is the reason why they won is because that it was racial. It was saying if this was reversed and this was giving black folks power, right? Concentrating black power as opposed to if white folks did that, if we concentrated it for white folks, it would have been a problem, right? So, but we're at a time now of talking about equity, right? Everything's through the lens of equity. On the heels of George Floyd and Black Lives Matters, everything's through the lens of equity. So we're in the city of Boston, the mayor Walsh acknowledged racism in the city of Boston, acknowledged being implicit in racism and slavery and the systemic oppression, right? That's racism and classism.
Right.
And so you acknowledged it, you're saying we want to fix it, and so now everything's through the lens of equity. So how do you reconcile that with the fact that now they're saying, oh, well, you're giving black power and that's not fair because, what about our power? We're talking about equity.
You have the power. you have the power already. That's the problem. You got too much power, and we as the people, we need to reclaim our power. It's just a mystery to me, and you can't be at all the meetings. You can't be at all the hearings. There was the JP Progressives gave a meeting, had a meeting a Zoom meeting the other night. It was about over close to 100 people was on that meeting.
Wow.
And there was a lot of different organizations, that people, I think, are getting a little bit frustrated and aggravated about what is going on, because it just seems like, one person or two people, it just doesn't make sense the way it all went down, And so, because the fact that the mayor signed that first map, she signed it. So I don't understand why she turned around and then changed, came up with her own map. That I don't understand. So whatever. Hopefully we'll figure it out, because people are running. People have been moved from one district to another. I was in District 4. I got redistricted back into 5, because that's where I was in the beginning when I first moved to Rosendale, and now it's. You don't know, because people have moved out of one district into another that are now able to run for office, and because of all this, what's going on with the map, I don't know. I know Barry Lawton is running.
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? My guest has arrived. Thank you, Renee. How are you this morning?
Good, and you? Glad I
Good.
can make it.
Yes. Pull your mic up to you a little bit, and you can put your headphones on if you like. So this week has been kind of crazy for me, because I'm getting ready for our graduation, and I didn't do anything I was supposed to do. I didn't get your bio, I didn't get your picture, but I am happy to introduce my guest, Sherelle, right?
Yes.
And your last name again?
Holloway.
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 Yes. And Sherelle happens to own Blue Wave Laundry, correct?
Yes.
As well, she has another business too. I'm not really familiar with that one, but I know that she owns a laundromat. And I met her last year when we were working on Nika Ugado's campaign together, and I was I think she asked me to help her do something, and I tried to help as best as I could, but then we reconnected just like past week at Nika's going away party, and so I said, I need you to come on my show. You come on my show and talk about your business, talk about how you got started, and your other things and the work that you do in the community, and where is your laundromat, and so introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, my name's Sherelle Holloway, and actually Priscilla, we met because I was trying to get into the city contracts of doing city bids.
Okay,
bids,
right. Being the vendor, right.
Being a vendor.
Yeah.
So just me being a small business in Boston, just trying to pursue more work avenues and get connected through the city and throughout Boston, getting more contracts. As far as right now, we're trying to expand our pickup and drop off services.
Okay.
Which we've done that now for, I want to say, a few years. And it's a slow trickle, but it's okay for now, but I know we can do more. And
what made you decide to want to own a laundromat? And how long have you owned your laundromat?
Well, I've owned the laundromat for, it's going on 21 years
Wow.
in October.
At the same spot where you're at now?
Yes.
Do you own that store too?
Yes, the building next door.
Okay. Good to hear.
Yep. So back in the early days, those were good opportunities for, people in the neighborhood, the city, to acquire properties. But because I was the abutter to the property next to the laundry, I pretty much had first dibs on getting it. It did go, it was one of the properties going up for sale with the city of Boston. So I acquired it that way, being
for
the
you.
abutter of the property, and I would be able to supervise it and keep it maintained. And I know a lot of the streets, the city of Boston, they're trying to have a good look and keep the appearance clean, and we take care of our properties and
Right.
take pride in owning them. So we've had a lot of
So you own that little block there then, right?
3/4. I missed out on the back part, but
The parking lot.
No, there's a little white house in back of us.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I own 3/4 of that property over there.
Well, that's good. That's good. And how is business? How is the laundry business?
The business, it's going good. It's holding its own, especially where we're on the main drag, so everybody sees the building
Right, right,
and the laundromat there, so you can't miss it.
right,
At least some
right,
people, I think they've said they didn't notice it, but
right,
when you're
right.
at that light, you'll
Yeah,
see the
definitely.
laundromat.
Yeah, that's you are at a good spot, and you got a little bit of parking in the back, so that's really good. So what other do you have another type of business, or do you do other
Well, we do property management, so
Okay.
we do have a few
properties?
in the Boston areas.
Okay, okay.
So Mattapan, Dorchester to be specific.
Well, good.
Mhm.
That's good. I'm glad because you don't see a lot of women. There's a lot of women in different businesses and things, but I don't know of any other woman that owns a laundromat. There may be, but I don't know. But it's always good to meet people who do different types of work,
Yes, and also like you said, as far as being a laundry owner,
Mhm.
like I said, the city of Boston, they put their property up for sale, and me and my husband were like, oh, what are we gonna do with it? Because at first we was gonna put a smaller laundromat in the building that we have. It's commercial and residential.
Mhm.
And then I was like, nah, because I knew that was coming up. I said we could do a bigger one. So it's just a entrepreneurial thing that we were looking into, and what does the neighborhood need?
Mhm.
As far as you see a lot of the liquor stores or Western Unions.
I'm so sick of them check cashing stores. I tell you, every time I go down to Nubian Square, I get frustrated to see that PSL right there where Nubian Notions used to be. It's just
Yes.
like it's just. I mean, I know that unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have problems with like bank accounts and things like that, but these check cashing places are just ripping us off. Even if you had like a small bank account somewhere,
Yes.
and grew it, I'm not advertising any banks, but there are a couple banks that do support and help you with like if you've had like bad credit or bad check writing or whatever, and they'll give you a second chance.
Okay.
But there's just too many of them, and they're not, they don't really care. They charge you, a lot of money to cash a check. But then there are some other services that they provide, I guess, that people like, which is, being able to Western Union, of course. They just used to be Western Unions, and all of a sudden they were like check cashing places, and
Yes.
you could pay your bills there, So that is a convenience that is good.
Yeah, it's a convenience, unfortunately, I think, for what do you call it, the urban neighborhoods, because other than that, with most banks, some of them, they do offer the free, checking accounts and stuff. So
Mhm. But with some of them, you have to have, keep a certain amount of money in the bank sometimes. Also, with the banking industry, there's so many of them, and they're kind of like just coming into invading our neighborhood, Like we got the Chase Bank. That's a new bank,
yes.
Rockland, I think Rockland Trust now. Well, I like TD Bank. The one thing I like about TD Bank, first of all, I like their customer service, and the second thing I like is that they're open 7 days a week. So, and you don't see a lot of banks that are open 7 days a week. I think they're the only one that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it just seems we were talking about maybe having our own credit union, because we do have a black bank, One United Bank, but I think that we need like different services. I don't think they offer the the services that we really, really need. You know, it's hard to get. Like, I don't think you can get like a personal loan. I don't think you could get like a car loan. You know, I think but you could get, like, if you were going to purchase a building or something, and you were going to put a business in it, you could get that type of loan. But I don't know. Maybe they'll change. They are moving. They had bought a new building, and so they're going to be moving right like in the middle of Roxbury, up by John Elliott Square. And so that should be interesting to see when they come there. Things are going to be different.
I'm not really sure where that square is, but I know right now they're located across from Grove Hall, right?
Right. I think they're going to keep that branch. I think they're going to, because they have a branch down. Well, their office, their headquarters is downtown. They're moving their headquarters up to Roxbury. You know where the Timothy School is?
I know I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's up. It's up the square from Nubian Square.
It's like up on the hill, I think.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. It's where the Thomas Dillaway house is.
Yes.
In the big white church up in Roxbury, John Elliott. Yeah, it's over there. They bought the old foreign car shop, and so they're gonna be. I guess they'll be breaking ground soon. So that's interesting. You know, that's just a little tidbit. But yeah, the check cashing places have really kind of like taken over, you know. And so our people, you know, I think it's like financial literacy. Like, some of us don't have the education or know about finances, or, you know, don't know how to like write a budget, or, you know, how to start saving money, or, you know, a checking account. You know, some folks write checks, they ain't got a nickel, dime, or quarter in their account, you know.
Yes.
Oh, I have to have money in there?
Right.
Right. But, so how is it, I'm sure it must be rewarding to be your own boss, you know, that you don't have to, like, answer to nobody, basically, you know, like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has its rewards, and it also has its downsides too, because pretty much you live the life of your business. So if someone's not there, then I always have to be there to be ready to take over.
Right.
And just be accountable for what's going on for each day, and making sure the needs are met for the customers and things.
So, are you looking to purchase more property in?
Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
It's my diabetes machine.
Oh, wow.
Let me just do it so to stop interrupting us.
Okay. Oh, you have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Praise God.
I'm going to a meeting later today so I can learn more about it too. So
Yeah. I know. It just seems like we get it some way, somehow, right?
yes,
But God is able.
most definitely. Well, he stopped me at a good time, because I'm definitely a sugar fiend here.
Yeah.
Between the juices and candy, and so it caught up with me. So those out there, definitely monitor. Like low me, I was bad every day. Got a bag of candy
Yeah.
and some juice. So it's like, nope, it caught up with me. But in a good time. So basically I changed my diet and everything. So no more sugar, no juices, no candy, just like straight water. And of course they tell me, you know, everything in moderation. You don't have to cut everything, but I'm like, a little nervous. I want to be around for at least another 40, 50 years.
Can I chime in?
Sure.
No, just because I'm sitting here and so you're newly diagnosed diabetic?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask if it's type 1 or type 2?
Type 2.
Type 2. Only because it's interesting, because we're doing a lot of education here on Boston Praise around diabetes. And it's so real, right? Like it's not abstract. I mean, one of our members, Brother Eric Kennedy, he is home now recovering because he had diabetes type 2. He thought he didn't have it, and we learned that, first of all, once you have it, you always have it. It's just how you manage it.
Yeah.
But he thought he was doing all the right things, but stress was dealing with stress so much that literally drove him to be hospitalized, right? His diabetes was at 330 something.
Wow.
And
His
so
numbers, wow.
it was way up. He developed a spur on one of his toes and an infection underneath that he hadn't eaten for 5 days because toxins had gone through his body to the degree that he ultimately had to have his big toe amputated. He's now home recovered. I mean, it's just so real to me. Like it's this brother who we knew, who we seen, who was incarcerated, and God has done such a wonderful work in his life, and is continuing to do that. But now he's having to aggressively make some lifestyle changes. So it's just something that we.
But it's
can't play
weird
with.
though because with Brother Eric, he had lost a lot of weight.
Yes.
He had changed his eating
Yes.
habits. You know, I'm gonna subscribe to some of his Amway stuff. I was doing their drinks and stuff, but they have like healthy stuff, and he said that's what helped him to like lose the weight and
Yes.
maintain it and
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
And then this happens. Like I didn't
stress.
even know he was diabetic.
He didn't either.
Yeah, they say stress kills. That's why I'm going to be stress less, okay? Stress less, especially after, it's just, but it's every day.
Every day.
It's every day work and life that you live. And especially if you care, if you have compassion for people, then you do get stressed. That's my thing. I have to really Lord, I just can't deal with it no more. I'm not going to worry about it. But it's life. And
You
it's
have to start focusing on you.
yeah,
so.
self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah, self-care. So definitely, I'm definitely gonna be making some changes. I just need to retire from all this work I'm doing. I just need, but I love my people. I love the work that I'm doing. I'm a fighter. I guess I was born a fighter. I'll probably always be a fighter. But I just fight different now. I don't fight with my fists anymore.
Yes.
I fight with the power of the power of the people,
Yes.
because there's just it's a lot, we have to deal with every day. Our friends and family members are passing away. We're getting older. It's like people that I went to school with now. Like they're gone. And so it's hard for us, but I know that if we continue to believe and trust in God, we'll be all right. I have to believe that, Well, I mean, I'm a living witness. I wrote my book. I look back and wonder how I got over, and then I need to now I have to do the second part.
How to get through it, huh?
Yeah, I'm still here, still getting over, but there's a lot of things that I do want to write another book. I just haven't. I've had a couple of different titles. I have to start with the title and then I write the book. So, but yeah, this city of Boston is really different.
It's changing. It's different,
and people can't afford to live here. This is what bothers me so much, is that we cannot afford to live here. If you do not own your own home, or have a Section 8, or have some type of subsidy, you can't live here, because landlords have the right to raise their rent to whatever they want. That's why we need rent control. I mean, it's not fair that someone can come and just raise your rent $400 or $500 at one time. I know it's your property. However, you got to think about this person's been living in your house, paying your mortgage now, helping you pay your mortgage. And then they're only making but so much, and then you increase, which put stress and hardship on your tenant.
Yeah. Well, with that, Priscilla, I mean, there's stress and heartache all around with the tenants and the landlord, because even you got to look at I'm an older landlord, but even the new landlords coming in now, they're buying these properties that right now they're going, just for a single family, is probably $800,000. Roxbury, they're moving up to
$1 million.
1 point something $1 million. So when those people buy those properties, they're looking to have whatever tenants they have, they're going to have to help cover that mortgage. So the price is going to go up somewhere.
Right, and I don't have and I know that. I understand that. I own my own home as well. However, I'm just saying the way they, drastically, it's just like all of a sudden, if you're working in a job and you're basically making
minimum wage.
right, which is that's another joke, how are you able to just do an increase like that? And then so what happens is if you can't, right, then your landlord has the right, they can put you out. And then so you're faced with trying to stay in your home, or you may have to move. And when you move, you got to come up with at least 2 months rent, the first and the last, or either the first and security.
First, last, and security.
And sometimes that can be like $5,000,
Yeah.
depending on where you live and what part of the city it is. It's just,
Yes.
yeah.
It's definitely sad, because also the dynamics of Boston is changing as well, because basically our nationality, we can't afford to live in our own town that we've been here for years. And
Born and grew up
we're
in.
born and raised. So I don't know, they always coming up with these programs and different things. So even with Section 8 clients, sometimes it's hard for them to even come up with their portion. And that's not even paying the full rent. So
Yep.
I mean, either way, as far as programs for the tenants, and even, I don't know, something additional for
The
the
landlords,
landlords to
right.
be able to house or
Right.
complement.
I know remember during COVID, it was really hard because the people were saying that there was some type of moratorium around the rent.
Basically, some of the tenants were like, "Oh, I don't have to pay rent."
But see, that doesn't make any sense because eventually you can't just live free forever,
Yeah.
So my thing would have been like, if I believe with the type of mindset that I have, if I have the money, I'm gonna pay my rent. However, if there was a situation where I didn't have it or I couldn't come up with it, and when I did get myself back, I would try to put something aside, because I think when they said, okay, you don't have to pay, a lot of folks just stop paying, period. But then of course they're getting ready to end that. So what happens now? And then you also have to look at those landlords too. If you got a 3-family house and you got 3 tenants and they all Section 8 and ain't nobody paying rent, there's one thing about the Section 8 is that you do get a portion, you get the majority of your rent from the agency, either from Boston Housing or Metro or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that help, it's difficult.
Yeah, fair to say. Well, I know there's a lot of programs out there, because a couple of my tenants, they use the RAP program. And,
Yeah, I heard about that program.
and then even, I forget what it was, the stimulus money, or they were paying people, just to be at home, it seemed like, or people weren't going to work.
Yeah,
at
a
that
lot of people
time.
were
It was
working from home.
collecting a check.
Yeah.
And so you're getting money from somewhere. So for
Right.
those that were, savvy enough to use that system,
Mm-hmm.
people were getting paid, and people didn't go back to work because of that. And a lot of the employers were up in arms, because they're like, well, nobody wants to come to work because they're getting a check.
Right.
So-
And then when they increased the insurance, the unemployment insurance,
Yes.
they gave you an additional $600 or something. That was
Right.
that was crazy, because that's another thing. It's like, oh well, I'm getting $600 more on unemployment. What am I going to go to work for?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit at home enjoying my time off.
Exactly, but I did see people do things positive with the stimulus. Like I've seen some people open up their own nonprofits or started their own businesses and stuff. So that part was good. But some of us, it's our mentality, the way some of us think about things. About life, about work, about being an employee as opposed to being an employer. I feel like we as black people, we are so talented and creative that we should be in collaboration mode. We should be trying to collaborate with other organizations that are like-minded like us, so that we can, especially in the nonprofit world. I just have a real issue with the the nonprofit world where you have 4 or 5 different agencies doing the same thing, and they're all like in silos trying to get money instead of coming together as a unit and a coalition, you know, and to help each other, you know. Because if you got 3 or 4 organizations that are working together, then I feel like you could get more work done. You could get more funding. You know, you may not need 2 or 3 different HR people, you know. So you could have them do other types of work, you know. I feel like the nonprofit world, it was created to help in social justice issues. However, a lot of it they don't, you know. A lot of them are just, they're there to get the money and to do what they want to do, and then they pretend, for lack of a better word. I've known organizations that they just use black people, you know. They literally use their plight, and they go and they write grants, and they go and they take pictures and act like they're part of it, you know. I mean, it's disgusting how some of them do, you know.
Because it's like, what can we do together to help the community
Yes.
and better the community, especially our youth,
Yeah.
to give them something to do besides, you know, I don't know, we got a few of the kids riding the mopeds and scooters up and down Blue Hill Ave, and, you know, just being on the corner, just something for them to do or gear them in a way of what can they look forward to for the future, what's out there besides the city of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And just to, you know, get a greater look, you know, there's more than just hanging around, and, you know, our
These young kids are
men.
very creative. They have great minds, and they're quick. They do a lot of work. It's just that their brain just is very different. But you gotta be able to steer them in the right direction with their skill sets. You know, like my program, the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to teach our young folks how to be able to advocate for themselves. Teaching them how to organize, you know, teaching them about civic engagement, you know, what it means to vote. Do you know that, you know, people lost their lives just trying to vote?
Yes.
And so they don't take it serious. They don't think their vote doesn't count. And I'd
for
say
them to know our history as well. Like,
Exactly.
Here, a lot of my talk shows, they talk about, you know, us knowing our history. Do we know where we come from?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some of the kids is like the sacrifices our ancestors did for us to be here to this point. It's like, do you realize? It's like,
No, they
come
don't.
on.
They don't understand it. One of my classes I teach. One of the classes we have Professor Jermadari, who is the dean of the Africana Studies at UMass Boston, and you know, it just doesn't make, you know, any sense that we don't know our history, because a lot of times if we just listen to our elders and our parents talk, we you know, listen to what they say to us and listen to what they tell us, you know, that's how you get to know your history, or reading, you know. Reading is fundamental.
Definitely.
And but our children have so many barriers. Like when COVID hit and our young folks were like learning from school at home, we found out a lot of the kids didn't even like turn on the computers. They didn't.
Or if they even had a computer.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
and
They.
internet service.
Yep.
All that.
Yeah. It was hot, and it didn't seem like it got any better. But I do see a lot of young folks doing a lot of good things, you know, and but running City Hall ain't one of them.
Yes.
We have so many young people down there, and I'm glad to see them down there, you know, but they need some people that got some experience, you know, that know some things, you know. Sometimes it's just, I just sit back and wonder, well, why would they do that? And why did they do it that way? You know, I mean, it's rough.
Well, hopefully, just to put the word out too, with the city of Boston, we have our schools that are underfunded, undereducated, and it seems that we get more of these charter schools and private programs coming into Boston, and we have lotteries. Only a certain amount of the kids can get in, but, you know, our city schools are suffering. And
Yeah.
they still need to, get the education and academics, ready for the majority of our schools that are here in Boston versus moving all these new programs in. Or even if these new programs are here, they should be trying to implement and help the city schools and, uplift them. And then maybe we can incorporate, getting the new charter schools and stuff like that in there. Because if they're working, then why not better the whole program for the city of Boston?
Right. A lot of people do not like Boston public schools because they feel like they're not being taught. Their kids aren't being taught. And
correct. And there's a lot of nonsense going on in the schools as far as fighting and dress codes.
Yeah.
Just so many avenues, and just, I guess, probably not enough parent input in there. But also, that's another
that's a main problem because the parents don't get involved.
Well, not necessarily because of that. I mean, they're working; they have to.
Well,
pay the
that's
rent
true too.
and stuff like that. So they really can't afford to be there. Versus the suburban schools.
Right, and I would think that somebody would have a friend or a relative that if something was going on and they were working, that they would have someone that could go in their place, because I know sometimes kids, they act up. That's just kids. And and you call the parent, and the parent's at work. The parent can't leave work to go see what's going on with Johnny, Yeah. So, but I would think that either they would have somebody in school, like an ombudsman, that would, instead of when the kid's acting up, you send them directly to the principal's office. Why couldn't there be an office of, support, office of help? Where if Johnny's acting up, well, why don't you go see Miss Smith today and let her talk to you? It could be that the child didn't have anything to eat for breakfast. He had, rushing to get to school. It could be there was some domestic violence stuff going on. You never know, because these kids, their minds are fast, a lot faster than when we grew up and when we were going to school. So they think totally different. They, you ask them a question, the first thing they do is go to their phone and Google it. So the internet has helped and help and not helped. Yeah. Yes. But I feel like as black people, we've been through so much, and we're still going through so much, and we'll probably continue to go through so much. But I feel like if we could just learn how to love one another, how we can learn how to support one another, how we can learn how to forgive one another. That's one of our biggest faults, is that we hold stuff against people, even some of our own relatives. You ask somebody about their family member. Oh, I ain't talked to her in 2 years. How you gonna not talk to your family member in 2 years? Your sister, your twin. How you not do that? But it's just it's the mind.
Grudges.
Yeah, it's sad the whole. Yeah.
And like you said, speaking on that, I mean, our children today too, they have to grow up much faster than back in the day. I mean, I think back in the day too, we were like, our own adult, get the key to the house, the parents are working, you go home,
do your homework,
clean up the dishes, do what you're supposed to do. But now it's like they're pretty much raising themselves.
Yeah, the latchkey kids.
Yeah. So the world is just going. Just got to find a way to make it better, or I don't know, to slow things down, or things to catch up with each other as far as the pay, rent or mortgages. Nothing's ever equal or to suffice one or the other. So it's constantly chasing that rabbit. It's like, I don't know if we're ever going to get there, find a solution for just making things be a little bit easier or structural, where we can also have that time to be there for each other and love one another, even our kids,
right.
Besides, working on life and society of how am I going to, keep the roof over our head and food on the table.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a never ending, battle. But
It is,
like
it
you
is.
said, you have God in your life. Usually, there's a way. He
Where
doesn't
there's a
give
will,
us-
there's a way, right?
It doesn't give us more than we can bear. So.
That's right. I heard something, and I don't know where I saw it at. I want to say the band. I'm not for sure. They're supposed to be turning some type of house for homeless in Dorchester. They were, oh God, I can't remember where I saw it, but it was some house in Dorchester. They named Dorchester was going to be for homeless people. It might have been in the band. I can't remember.
I know there was a lot of conversation with regard to over. I think is it Morrissey Boulevard over there? Where
You talking about Dorchester City?
I don't know, but over where Phillips. I think it's a candy place and a bowling place. There was a hotel or something over there.
Oh yeah.
They were talking about. I know Pine Street was talking about getting that place and making it homes for folks who were,
Transitioning.
Yes.
From,
Yeah, like Mass and Cass, they're trying to move folks from there and get them housed with wraparound services.
Right.
And
Which is what is needed.
It's definitely what's needed.
Yeah.
But what always happens, the pushback is always not in my neighborhood, but where you gonna go? They gotta go somewhere.
right.
So that's the challenge, and so that's some of the pushback is some of the folks, who the abutters who live around there. Again, it's largely a business area.
It's not that many people live around.
Exactly.
It's the beach and the
I don't get
lot
it.
of
Two of these people are around, but there's pushback saying, no, we don't want it there.
Yeah, it's shame because a lot of those people aren't even from our community. That's what makes it. That's one issue, right? And so they don't want it there, but why not? Why can't people get second chances?
I'm for it personally.
Yeah, I think it might have been the band I saw it, and I can't remember because that's the only paper I really pick up and read. But you go online, you see the Herald and the Globe, all that stuff. It just seems like there's just so much. This world of information is like, every time your phone click, it's something. Just so many different things going on. But the fact that people are homeless and don't have a place to live, and I know what it means to be homeless. I was homeless for 10 months. I lived in a homeless shelter up in Upton's Corner, and that is the worst feeling to be homeless. To not to have a key to unlock your door, that it's painful. It hurts, but God came through. 10 months,
Man.
And I had to have a car. I had a Volvo. I had a car, nowhere to live. Okay, and I wasn't trying to sleep in my car, so but I used to park it right up there. People thought I actually worked in the shelter. I lived there, but they, because when you live when you're in the shelter, you have to you have to leave.
Right.
You can't stay there. And I used to go to the my church at the time, Zion. They had a daycare center, and I used to work down there in the daycare center helping the kids. I didn't work. It was like volunteer, But I had somewhere to go every day, and it was a blessing because I was with my church family, and so it was good. But I think that of all the things that I went through, thinking besides me losing my 2 children, I think that was the worst, was being homeless. Yeah, it's not a good feeling, especially if you really haven't did anything but lose your job, but when you lose your job, that's it. You pay, and so, but God brought me out. He brought me out. Thank you, Lord. And so I can't give nobody else the glory and the praise but Him. So
I'm curious with regard to being a black entrepreneur, and specifically with regard to the laundromat business. So, are there others? Are you the only? Is there an association? Do you know?
No, there's no association that I know of.
Maybe you should start one, Sherelle.
I know one of our colleagues / friends, they took, from our lead, and he had a property or land, and didn't know quite what to do with it. He was going to do, I believe, a barbershop type club because he was a barber. And then he changed his mind. He seen our business and everything, so he kind of, mirrored that. It's on Morton Street, so Suds. I give them a shout out.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Hey, Kurt. So, he liked the business. It seemed pretty good. And our business, probably at the time, it had, it was a little overcrowded, so we had, a little extra flow that could go somewhere else if they needed to. So it's enough to share.
Yes.
For everyone. So nothing. I mean, doing a laundry business, if you want to do a business, just put your mind to it and do it. Because I had no clue of what to do or how to run a laundromat. So it's just something, we thought of, hey, what did the neighborhood need at the time? At the time, it was the old Texaco gas station, and it was just sitting there for years. It's been there for years. So that opportunity came, like I said, with the city. They cleaned it up and put the land for sale. So I was happy, we got that property, and
you're able to employ people, and provide a service within the community because
that is much needed.
Much needed.
It's funny because I remember during COVID, we used to have a group called the Blue Hill Corridor Planning Commission, where we used to do work along Blue Hill Ave. And what we did, one of the things that we did was we stopped the liquor store from coming up there. We all organizing. Went and testified that we didn't need no more liquor stores in Grove Hall.
Yes,
and,
we got enough of those.
Right, and we also were able to shut down the Stop and Shop because they had rodents running through there. I mean, when we heard the testimony, when I heard the testimony of some of them people about them mice running in that store, it just sent chills up my spine. And what made it so bad though, it was bad enough that this was going on, but what bothered me was that people knew about it and didn't say anything. One woman stood up and said, "Yeah, I knew about this 5 years ago, and that's why I stopped going there." I'm like, why didn't you tell somebody? You didn't think to tell somebody this was going on? One woman said she went home and bought a loaf of bread, and she got home, and the bread stopped moving. I said, oh my! I said they would have been a lawsuit right then and there.
That's right, bringing them into your house in your bread.
Exactly. And then she took it back, and they gonna ask her, "Where'd you get it from?" She's like, "I just bought it here." I mean, it was really sad, but ISD did come and they shut them down, and we had it was.
We couldn't get that cleaned up to like, hey, more extermination, something.
You know what it is too, that we're being infested with rats and stuff. 'Cause they're doing all this digging, they just bringing them up. They wonder why there's so many rats, because you are building up all these buildings. And so and then we helped Frank Thomas. He has the laundromat Breezeway on Blue Hill Ave and Otisfield Street.
Yes.
We helped him get that laundromat there because they didn't want him to build a laundromat. It was his property, and they didn't want him to. First, he wanted to build housing. They didn't want him to build housing. Then he said, okay, we need a laundromat. They didn't want him to do that. So we went and we testified for him to be able to open that laundromat. And you never know what's going to happen in the future. What happened was he built a laundromat. Everything was good. But then when COVID hit, we realized that people made it, because we started giving out gift cards for food and like cards like CVS and Stop and Shop and stuff. And then we one of the persons that was working with us, he said, you know what, we need to try to get some people some laundry cards because people can't wash their clothes, because they used to tell you when soon you come in the house, take your clothes off and all that. And so I went and I talked to Frank. I said, we need to try to help our community, be able to wash their clothes and stuff. And he said, yeah, what do you want to do? I said, let's pitch in. I said, I'll put in 20, you put in 20. We'll give them $40 cards. And we gave out over $10,000 worth of laundry cards during COVID, And it was because he was willing to support and help. I was willing and bold enough to go ask. And it just shows that had that laundromat not been there, we probably wouldn't have been able, because they were the only laundromat. And then I tried to send our people to different laundromats, and they were like, no, nobody don't want to do it. So But I thought that was great that that he was willing to support. Had I known you,
Right? Right. Now you do.
yeah, exactly. 3 minutes. What?
Time flies.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, when you're in good conversation with good people. So, but yeah, I do this. I'm here every Thursday, 9 to 10.
Okay.
So, and I try to bring in people from the community, business owners. I bring in elected officials too. Bring them in, try to beat them up. And I think that's why nobody want to come on my show. But I mean,
Definitely a nice atmosphere. So thank you for inviting me.
yes.
So I'm curious. So the name of it and the location and the hours. I'm curious.
Okay.
Okay. So the laundry is Blue Wave Laundry, and we're located on 1372 Blue Hill Ave. And the hours is Monday through Friday is 8 a.m. Last wash is 8:30. We close at 10 every night. Saturday and Sunday we open at 6:30 in the morning. And like I said, last wash is 8:30 p.m. and we close at 10. Some
Okay.
people slip in there a little after 8:30. It's okay, maybe 10 minutes past that time, but it's getting late into the evening. The workers are ready to go home, so
Yeah.
don't push it. I get some of my customers that push it. If I'm there, then sometimes
Yeah.
we can stay late. But the workers, no, they're ready to go home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Understood.